Why are we here tonight? What am I doing? I'm here because I have a special goal for every single one of my students. I don't like what Lori talked about, the fact that if you get married today, your chances of having a happy marriage. It's horrible. And so my goal in this class for all my students is for you to find the love of your life one time and be married in a passionate, loving relationship forever. That is my goal of this class. There's no other reason I'm doing it here for. I'm doing it not just because I want you to get married, but I want you to be in a passionate, loving relationship forever. I wrote a book. It's coming out later this year. It's called Never Leaving: The 4 Phases of Love. Why did I write the 4 phases of love? Because I think it'll give you a better grasp of what it means to be in a loving, passionate relationship. The 4 phases are, number 1, it's called the crush. What is the crush? You go with someone for the first time, you like them, they're kind of cute and everything, and they make you laugh, and they're fun. You're like, I like this person, I'll go with them. You have a little crush on them. You go 1 or 2, 3 times, and after 2 or 3 times, this is just a generalization, obviously, you have what's called, I call the research phase. You have the crush phase, and then you have the research phase. The research phase is when you're going through, in your head, you're going through your head, it's like, do I want to commit to this person a long time? Is there enough positive quality traits? Do I want to have whatever that word commitment means, do I want to continue with this relationship long term? And that leads us to the 3rd phase, which is called the commitment. Now, the reason why I'm giving this class and the reason why I wrote the book, because every single person, if you're single here, you want to get married or have a long-term relationship, whatever that means in today's world, having a long-term relationship. But the problem is that it most of the time doesn't end up too good because you're thinking to yourself, I just want to get married. What you want to do, what you need to have a crush in order to fall in love, you need to do the research in order to figure out if you want to marry someone, but you're thinking, I just want to be committed. But there's so much more to that. And that's why I wrote this book, because the commitment phase is not the end of it. You want to get to what I call the 4th phase. And the 4th phase is what I call in my book, never leaving. Now, this does not happen after 1, 2, 3, or 5 years of marriage, not even 10 years of marriage. As Lori said earlier today, you don't understand, I love my wife. You're getting married, you're walking down the aisle. How many times the people walking down the aisle are thinking that they're going to be one of the statistics? No one thinks that, right? So in order to get to the 4th phase, never leaving, it takes a lot of time. The love that I have for my wife now is incomparable to the love that I had 20 years ago. There's no comparison. So I want you to get not just to the commitment, but I want you to get to the phase of never leaving. Because how many times in life have you been committed to something until you're no longer committed to it? Think about, you've gone to the gym. This year I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to work out. I'm doing Pilates, yoga, here we go, karate, black belt. All these things you committed to in your life, a sports team, a politician, a friend, a school, whatever it's been to, you've been committed to many, many things in life until you're not committed anymore. So you want to get to the phase, what I call never leaving. And we're going to talk a lot about that at one of our future seminars when we do a marriage seminar. So Lori talked about the definition of love, which is the emotional, I say a little differently. It's the emotional pleasure you feel when you associate someone with their virtues, when you focus on their virtues and you associate them with their virtues. And I want to give you kind of a little bit of a deeper meaning. That's the Torah definition. This is my definition. Everyone's crazy, but you better remember why you fell in love. And that's the truth. Everyone's nuts. Everyone's got shtick. Every single person. So you better remember why you fell in love. The reason why I wrote this book, I was in Fort Lauderdale many years ago, back in 2017, and I was watching a TV show on the Food Network. And I didn't really watch the Food Network, but there's a TV show called Chopped. Has anyone seen that show called Chopped? Right? So with the premise of the show, and this is why I started writing this class. The premise of the show, you like it? Someone said they like it, it's good. The premise of the show is that you have 4 chefs going on in this contest. And they have to make a dish. They have 15 minutes to make an appetizer, and they bring their appetizers to the judges, and one of them gets kicked off the show, and then 3 of them make a main course. They have like 20, 30 minutes, and then they get chopped off the show. And then there's a dessert, and the winner gets $5,000 or $10,000. That's a cute little show. But the reason why that I really connected to the show was because when they start the timer to make the appetizer for like 15 minutes, they have this box, a black box, full of very unusual ingredients. things that they must use in the dish that most chefs never cook with. These are things that are unusual, they're not used to using in their cooking. Things such as snake meat, squid ink, jicama powder, snail urine, chicken feet. I mean, who cooks with this stuff? I just made up snail urine. I don't know if there's snail urine actually exists. I just liked it. Anyway, they have to use it in the dish, and then they have to use it in the dish. This is just like marriage. This is exactly like getting to a marriage. You have your own box full of stuff. These are things you don't even know you have, and if you're young, you really don't know them until they come out later. These are things like, inability to connect emotionally. It might be that you have a hard time trusting someone. It might be that you have anger issues. It might be that you are just, don't want to listen to anybody. Whatever your issue is in life, you have your own box full of issues. They have their own box full of issues. And they might not even know what they have in their box. And then you fall in love, and you get married, and then you try to make a dish together. And guess what happens? You have a hard time. You have your stuff, you have your snake meat, they have their quail livers, whatever they have, and you try to cook a dish together, and you have a hard time. And many times you can work it out, but many times you can't. And that's why you have to understand the definition of love. Because if you go into a relationship with a different definition of the person you're going to marry, you're going to have a hard time. It might not happen off the bat. It might happen later. And I say if you come from a family where there's dysfunction or divorce, it doesn't mean you can't have a great relationship. You can. You just have more work to do. You have to learn this wisdom before you get married, which is really amazing. The biggest decision you make in your life, you're going to if you get a driver's license, don't you have to take a test? Study for 6 months, take a driver's test. You get a real estate license. You're going to get a CPA. Whatever you do in life, you take tests and understand and have to study about what it is that you're doing in order to do it. But to make the biggest decision in your life, how many of you dating have ever taken a dating class? Maybe? You have, but most people don't. It should be a requirement that people should take a dating and marriage class before they go into the idea of dating relationships. Okay. So Lori gave the definition of love. I added something to this. I added something called because if I ask people by the way, if you have any questions, I love questions. You have one? You just raise your hands. Okay. The feeling, I like to put the definition and what it feels like. If I ask people what the definition of love is, they're going to tell me what they feel like. So I decided to put this in my new book. And I use the feeling of love is wanting to give without getting anything in return. The feeling of love is wanting to give without getting anything in return. Whereas infatuation is a momentary desire of the brain that they have something that you want. Many people confuse infatuation and love. They do. Many people get married because of infatuation. Many people, because they don't understand that. Love is the idea of giving without getting anything in return. This is why it's very, very important. Go ahead. There are. You have different love for your spouse and your parents, correct? Well, the relationship we're talking about today is marriage. So this is the definition for marriage is the emotional pleasure you feel when you focus on someone's virtues and you associate them with those virtues. This is a very important point. When you're dating, you must clarify why you are dating. Because many people, now this is not for the froom world, this is just a general world where I grew up in Washington, D.C., I grew up in a very secular Jewish household, and this is how most people date. They're 20, 21, they're cute, and might be a cute girl, and guys like me, so I'll start dating. If you ask someone, why are you dating? I don't know, because I'm cute, and guys like me, I'm dating, whatever. Well, clarify why you're dating, because what happens if you don't clarify why you're dating, if you don't know why you're dating, you're going to start dating, and then you're going to meet a guy that's fun and cute, or a girl that's fun and cute, and you'll get into a physical relationship with them, and then you may come to marry them, which is nothing wrong with that, and this is a generalization, but the problem is 5 or 10 years later, you're in a horrible relationship. It's because when you were dating, you didn't clarify why you were dating. If you're dating for fun, then you have a very low barrier to hold, right? You don't need much. All you have to do is be fun. But if you're dating for the purpose of marriage, guess what? You have a different set of characteristics that you have to have in someone that you want to marry if you're marrying for marriage, if you're dating for marriage. Do you understand my point? If you're not clear, if you're not clarifying where you're dating, you might have a problem later on in life. There's an idea that people perceive you the way that you perceive yourselves. So the story, there's a guy named Sidney Frank. He made a liquor called Jägermeister. It's usually drunk a lot in college. Supposedly, I heard it tastes like licorice, what I was told. Anyway, so he started Jägermeister, and he wanted to make a vodka brand that can compete with the highest brand at the time, which was Absolute. And the reason I'm telling you this story, you're going to hear in a second why. So he came with a liquor called Grey Goose. Anyone heard Grey Goose? So he brought Grey Goose to market, and he priced at the time the same as Absolute, which was $15 a bottle. And he wasn't selling that much, so he decided to do something that was in the Hall of Fame of marketing. He doubled the price of Grey Goose to $30 a bottle, and sales went crazy. According to the FDA, any vodka that's distilled more than 3 times is exactly the same. You cannot tell a difference unless it's flavored. And even more so if it's put into a Cosmopolitan or a vodka martini. You can't tell the difference between any vodka. So when someone goes to the store to buy a vodka and they see Smirnoff for $5 and they see Absolute for $15 and they see Grey Goose for $30, what's the difference between the vodkas? Why is someone going to the store and say, I'm not going to, let's say you're going to someone's house for a party, I want to get them a nice vodka, I'm not getting Smirnoff, it's too cheap, Absolute's okay, I'll get this bottle of Grey Goose, it's really good vodka. What's the determining factor between someone buying, because if the FDA says that every single vodka is the same, why does someone buy one for $30? Perception. It's all based on your perception. If you perceive yourselves to be cheap, people will value as cheap. If you perceive yourself to be a prince or a princess, dress a certain way, dress nicely, people will put you in a higher standard. We see this today there was a musical called Hamilton that came out a few years ago, and for a while you could not get tickets. Anyone see Hamilton? Do you like it? Yes. You like it? You didn't like it? Anyone else? You saw it? What do you think? Huh? It was great. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. You couldn't get tickets for over a year. Tickets for over $1,000. Now, I have I grew up I used to sing and dance. I used to play piano, and so I like musicals. I used to see Chorus Line. I love musicals. So I went and said, I thought it was a good musical. It was a good musical, but I did not find that it was worth the money and the time to wait to see this musical. The reason why it was so popular, I believe, was because the perception that it was hard to get. People want 2 things. If it's rare, if it's hard to get or expensive, people put a value on it. This is the reason why the holiday times you'll see people hanging out at Walmart trying to buy some toy that they're going to get at 8 in the morning because they can't get the toy. But if they knew they're going to get a million pieces of that toy that day, they're not going to wait all night. How you perceive yourself is how other people perceive you. What's love got to do with it? Everything. The most important decision you're going to make in your life. Okay. Lori mentioned something, what's important to you, what's important to me. As my wife says, what's important to you must be important to me. And I'm going to kind of expand on this idea. I like to cook a lot. I'm always in the kitchen cooking. And I'm kind of a neat freak. So when I'm done cooking, I like to put everything on the kitchen counters into the sink. My wife asked, and she cleans up. My wife will clean up. And she asked me nicely, I'd appreciate it if you didn't put the sharp knives into the sink. That seems like a simple request, right? I didn't do it. Because from my perspective, if I have sharp knives on the kitchen counter, the kitchen isn't clean. So I didn't listen to her. I'm like, no, I want a clean kitchen. I'm putting knives in the sink. First issue. Issue number 2. When I was cooking for the family, and I had little kids at the time, I would bring the family food to the kitchen table, and I bring the small forks. I had little kids, so I bring them small forks. My wife kindly asked me if I would bring her a large fork and a small fork. And I take the small fork away, and I give her a large fork, and I bring it back to her. Simple request. It seems like it's nothing, right? It seems like it's nothing. That wouldn't kill a marriage. It's fine. And for a while I was doing this, and I said to myself, why can't you get over the fact that your wife really wants a large fork? The reason why it bothered me, because I don't care what I eat with. Large fork, small fork, chopsticks, tweezers, my fingers, I don't care. To me, from my perspective, it doesn't matter what I used to eat with. But from my wife's perspective, she wants a large fork. And I couldn't get it from my brain that she wanted me to bring her a large fork. I kept bringing the small fork, because I said, what does it matter to her? A fork's a fork. From my perspective, that's what it was. But from her perspective, she wants a large fork. Huh? I don't know. I don't understand. Because who cares what for? A small fork, it doesn't matter to me. Do you understand my perspective? You're right. That's because my perspective, I don't care. From her perspective, she wanted to eat from a large fork. So after some time, it wasn't hard for me to switch. It wasn't hard for me to bring her the small fork. It wasn't hard for me to stop taking the sharp knives and leaving them on the side of the sink. But you know what's hard for me? For me to see things from her perspective. But this is where this is the main thing of this. Even though it seems like tiny and small, every time I bring my wife a small fork, she knows I'm thinking about her. I mean, a large fork. Every time I bring her a large fork, she would kill me now if I brought her a small fork. No, she wouldn't. By the way, even now, if I don't have a large, for some reason we lost all our forks. I don't know how. I guess the move from America to Israel, we have no forks left. I should know the story. Anyway, so I'll go into the dishwasher and take out a large fork and clean it and give it to her. But every time I bring her a large fork, she knows I'm thinking about her. Every time I take the knives and put them on the side of the sink, she knows I'm thinking about her. But what's even more important, that she knows I'm thinking about it for something that doesn't matter to me. Do you understand? These things don't matter to me. My wife wants flowers every single Friday. I'm like, why am I going to the store and spending 50 shekels to buy dying plants, right? Because that's what they are, dying plants. But guess what? It doesn't matter to me. Do you know why? I want more than a commitment. I want more than marriage 1.0. I want never leaving. I want to get to marriage 2.0. I want the upgrade. I want the passion. I want the love. I want to be 85 years old and in love with my wife, and passionately I look at her and I see a princess coming down the aisle. Because that is the work that it takes in order to get to that love. I have an idea I came up with a few weeks ago, and it kind of blew me. I come with ideas a lot. I'm a little crazy. I have all these ideas always blowing up in my head. And I call it sunscreen love. What is sunscreen love? You're hearing it for the first time, Laurie. I think you heard it last week. You go to the beach, right? And what do? You put sunscreen on. SPF 30, SPF 15. Why? Why do you put sunscreen on? You don't burn, right? What does this have to do with love? We talk about infatuation, desire, lust, that some people get married for those reasons and not real love because they're not willing to give without getting anything in return. And so it's confusion. But you need to have lust, infatuation, desire in order to get to love. And bless you, that's what romance is. What is romance? Romance is the act of taking that lust, infatuation, desire, and turning it into love. And guess what happens? It's easy when you're 21, 22 years old. Easy to be in love. But as time goes on, 5, 10, 20 years down the road in a marriage, that love takes work. It doesn't come so easily. That is the suntan lotion. If you don't constantly spread on that suntan lotion on your body, what's going to happen? You're going to burn. If you don't constantly romance your spouse, to take that lust, infatuation, desire, and turn it to love, the love is going to fall away. Again, love, the emotional pleasure you feel when you focus on someone's virtues and you associate them with those virtues. How do you fall in love? You fell in love in the beginning. What happened to those things? And we all have those issues. We all have that snake meat and that squid ink and that yikima powder. Those issues we have of, mistrust, inability to love somebody, anger. We have those issues. You forget why you fell in love in the first place. And the romance is the taking of those, of the lust, infatuation, desire, and turning it into love. This is the things we do on a daily basis. Things like words of affection. Things like little notes you put in their lunch. Maybe when they're in the kitchen cooking, rubbing, when you walk by them, just kind of slowly rub by them and kind of rub them a little bit. When you're handing them a knife, you hand them a knife and you kind of like rub their fingers. That's taking love. That's taking the infatuation, lust, desire, which you have to have in a relationship, and turning it into love. And that takes work. Marriage takes work. I have an idea that if you want to catch the right fish, you need to put out the right bait. You can't go fishing for salmon if you have little trawlers. You have to have the right bait out there to catch the right fish. Back when I was 29 and 30, I was living in Washington, D.C., and I lived in Reston, Virginia, and I used to work out a lot. I'm very big into working out. I think everyone should work out. But I always say if you lift weights for more than 30 minutes, that it's really just low self-esteem, and you just want to build up your ego, which is fine, but everyone should be working out. When I was 30, I worked out for hours. I'd spend all my time in the gym lifting weights, and when I go out to like a bar or something at night, I wear like a tight black shirt and jeans, and I had decent guns. And guess what happened for years? I'd be in this constant loop, this constant hamster wheel of dating people that weren't good for me. Why was it? Because I was putting out the wrong bait to catch the right fish. You see, I was catching a filet of fish when I really wanted seared salmon on couscous with grilled broccoli. I was not putting out what I really wanted because I was putting out my muscles. And so what happened was the people that were hanging around me were all the people that liked my big muscles. And I'd go out with them, and it was fine. I'd go out with them for a few weeks and date somebody else. And I was constantly not dating the right person because I was putting out the wrong bait. If you want to marry someone, if you want to meet someone that wants you for who you are as a real person, the real you, your soul, you have to put out front and center what is the real you, which means don't distract people from things that maybe aren't going to attract the right people. To put it bluntly, we all have nice body parts. We have nice legs, nice, other things, and nice stomachs, and we show them. We put it out there. I remember I was teaching this class of essentials one time, and I was probably a little more edgy then, and one of the girls got mad, and she left, and she walked out. She came back into my class about 10 minutes later, and then she asked to come to my house for Shabbat. And so I said to her at the Shabbat table, I go, were you mad at me at that class? And she goes, yeah, I was really mad at you. I said, what happened? She goes, I got over it. You were right. Because I said to her, because she was not dressed, she was, not tzniusly, not in a modest way, I should say. And I said, when you dress like that, the people that are going to hang around you are the people that like those things that you're showing. If you have nice legs, if you're a girl and you have nice legs, you show them. The guys are going to be around you, your social circle. The people that hang around you are going to be people hanging around you because they like those nice legs. And more likely than not, you're going to end up dating someone for that reason. And you're going to wonder why 5 or 10 years later, you were in a bad relationship. What is on the back of your shirt? What is on the back of the shirt are things that maybe you don't know you have wrong with you. It may be the fact that you have a large ego. It might be that you don't listen to people. It may be that you don't shower. It may be that you're a messy eater. It may be that you have a hard time paying attention to people. It may be that you're into yourself. There are many reasons that you have in your life why you're not meeting the person you want to marry. You're having a hard time meeting people. Maybe you have a hard time getting a second date. You need someone to read the back of your shirt. You need to become what's called more self-aware. So what you need to have is really a coach. I think everyone should have. My rabbi said to me that when I have kids, he goes, my rebbetzin said to me this, actually, that when I have kids, if their person they're dating does not have a rabbi or rebbetzin or a dating coach, run away. Who's going to guide you? We all have stuff wrong with us, but we can't see what's on the back of our shirt. We don't know everything because we only know what we have in front of us, what's obvious to us. But every one of us has things that are wrong with us. So we need to seek out, and we need to get feedback from people. We need to go out and seek and get feedback from different people. And we don't want always, like people, someone tells you something, I always say, when I've been writing books, and I bring the books to Aisha Torah, and I have my students there, some of them sitting here in the front row, and I bring the books to you, and they read the books, they go, Coach, I love your book, I love your book. I'm like, thank you, but unless I wrote a really, really horrible book, you're gonna like my book because you like me. I need to find someone who's not my yes man. I need to find someone who's gonna tell me really what my book's about, if it's any good. And so far I haven't found very few people, because everyone I meet knows who I am, so they bring books and they like my books. But I need someone to tell me the truth, someone who's not biased. And you don't want to, you have a friend, that's great, but your friend's going to tell you, like, imagine you renovate your kitchen, which I've done before, and you renovate your kitchen and you invite someone, Jesse, come see my kitchen. Jesse, I just finished my kitchen. You got to come see my kitchen. Coach, I love your kitchen. It's great. Well, what else is he going to say? If I really wanted his opinion, I would ask him before I built my kitchen, right? So what people do sometimes, they'll tell you what's wrong with you, what you need to do to help yourself out, to improve your dating chances, but then they defend themselves. Well, that's not really true. What you need to do is thank them and think about it. Thank them for their advice, because if you defend yourself, they're never going to tell you the truth again. And think about it for a while and say, wow, maybe they're right. Maybe I should smile more. Maybe I should, maybe I should pay attention more to people. And one of the most important things when you're dating is listening. One of my friends, when I was going to college with him, after college, we lived together, and he said to me, he said, I'm going to give you the biggest trick for getting a girl to like you. When you go on a date with him, don't say a word. I said, really? Why? He goes, because if they get to do all the talking, they're going to love you, which is true. Women need to connect through speaking. Men, not so much. Jack and I can go to a hockey game. We can have a beer, say a few words to each other, grunt, and we had a great time. But that doesn't happen with girls, with women. Women need to speak. Now, when you're on a date and someone's speaking, and you're going, what you're doing is hearing them. It's going in one ear, it's going out the other. What you need to do is listen to them. Right? In fact, the Torah, in the prayer Shema, it says, listen and you will listen. The word listen means hear, but really what you want to do is listen. You want to take everything in they're saying. You want to repeat what they're saying. Understand it. And it's very, very hard. When we get into the idea of marriage, paying attention to your spouse is very important. And there's 3 questions that we're going to discuss, that when a man comes home to see his wife for the first time after being out at work, he has to ask them these questions. It's, what's on your mind? What did you do today? And how are you feeling? His wife, when he comes home, because when a man comes home, when I came in from work, and I was living in Washington, I used to come in from work, what I want to do, grab a beer, sit on the couch, and watch ESPN highlights. But guess what happens? You have a wife who is at home, and she's with the kids or whatever, and she wants to talk. And I come home, and let me tell you something. It's torture for us. It really, no offense to the wife, it's hard for us because we are different than you. You need to talk. We have to learn to listen. So we come home. We should put the phones down by the side, on our counter, and go talk to our wife and ask her these 3 questions. Even if my wife knows that I'm thinking about these 3 questions, it's a game changer. And we do it today. She goes, you've got to ask me these 3 questions. How you doing? How you feeling? What's in your mind? What did you do today? I asked her the questions. And that's how women connect to men. And so when you're dating, you need to listen to the person that you're dating with. Which means repeat what they're saying, be engaging with it. Because if you're there and not paying attention, they're going to have a hard time connecting with you. Okay. I can go all night, but I want to end. I want to end with the idea that, the average Fortune 500 company spends $150 million a month on consultants because it helps their bottom line. We're going into the dating world. You're going into the dating world. And we talked about reading the back of your shirt. You need to find a coach. You need someone to help guide you, a rabbi, a rabbi, a dating coach, somebody to help guide you, to help you to find the person that you want to end up to be in love with for the rest of your life. We have something like that in marriage too. Unfortunately, most people only go to these consultants when they're in trouble. My Rabbi says to me, very few people come to her. They come to her and they say, Lori, I'm having a hard time. Some things they're not going great. I'm having a little problem in my marriage. Oh, a little problem, really? And they meet, and you find out they haven't been together for over a year. It's not a little problem. That's a major problem. You don't want to wait until things get bad in your relationships. When you're going dating, you don't want to waste your time after time after time going on dates without finding out what you can do to improve yourselves, to increase your chances of opening up someone into your heart. This is why we did this worksheet. The idea of the worksheet is to try to expand your pool of people that you can marry. Expand the pool of people that you'd be willing to go out with. Because, Lori mentioned the 3-date rule. You have no idea. You do not know someone from one date. It is not possible. When I would go on one date, when I would go on a date with somebody, I was scared of my mind. I was so nervous. When I take someone to a restaurant, I would only order a salad and only lettuce. Because the avocado could smear my shirt and the carrots would get stuck between my teeth. Think about how nervous I was on the first date that I would only order lettuce. Do you think you're going to know me on the first date? Do you think we're going to get to really know each other? Is that possible? Because it's not possible. You went over your list. You made your top 10 list. And I'm sure in your top 10 list you have, you must be good looking, a nice body, different things like that. But I want to give you a secret. And this is something I give to all my classes, to my students. For every gorgeous girl walking down the street, for every hot, guapo guy walking down the street, there is someone that is sick of them. And I want you to get this through your mind. Looks only go so far. We're all going to get older. We're all going to get wrinkles. We're all going to sag. Every single one of us. I'm sure you've been to a wedding of a friend of yours that you've never met the bride or the groom. And you go to the wedding, and you see them for the first time, and you look at them, you're like, well, they could have done a lot better than that. The reason why? Because you don't know them like they know them. The more you get to know someone that you like, the better looking they get. And the exact opposite. The more you don't like someone, no matter how good looking, the more you don't like them. Angela Jolie, Brad Pitt have people that can't stand them. It doesn't matter how good looking you are. And this is the most important point I want you to take home with you. That looks only go so far because it's the first thing we see when we go out. If I go to someone in America and I say, oh, I got a girl, I said, are you dating? And they go, yeah, I'm seeing someone. Well, if you're seeing someone, what is there left to see? Once you've seen them once, is there anything left to see? You've seen them once. You go on one date, you've seen them. What you should be doing is you should be listening to them, learning about their likes and dislikes, because looks only go so far. And it's a very important point because we all have what's called first date bias, especially if you're a guy. Like Lori said, as a guy, we have the better looking they are, the more likely we're going to go with them for a second time, even if they're completely dumb. If they're good looking, okay, we'll give it. For a guy, if we go out with someone who's really, really good looking and they just don't have anything in their head, we'll give it a few tries. Oh, maybe they're really smart. We don't know. We try because they're good looking. But guess what? For every hot girl walking down the street and for every beautiful guy walking down the street, there's someone sick of them. I want you to understand that there's 4 phases to love. We have to have the crush. We have to start with the crush, infatuation, desire, because we need those things in order to get to love. But then you need to do the research. This is the learning about them. This is the listening part of the relationship. This is about learning the likes and dislikes, trying to find out if there's any hidden skeletons in the closet, which, by the way, I'm telling you, you're not going to find them all anyway. But then you decide to commit, and you finally say, I'm committed. I'm finally in a relationship. I'm getting married. Baruch Hashem, I'm getting married. But guess what? That's just the beginning. What is the last scene in almost every romantic comedy? What's the last scene in almost every romantic comedy? The wedding. It's the wedding. How come they never show 10, 20, 30, or 40 years later after the wedding? Because it wouldn't be a romantic comedy. It'd be a murder mystery. That's when the hard work starts. Most people spend more time planning their wedding day than the wedding day than their marriage itself. And how long does the wedding last? 5 hours max. Yet they spend more time going to New York than pick out a Louboutin shoes and a Vera Wang dress, and sometimes spend more money on those dresses and shoes than most people spend on the wedding. Because it's so important for them. They have this dream of this wedding day. Someday my prince will take me away. I'm at this beautiful wedding. And guess what? That's when the hard work starts. That's when you have to start the romance, the putting on the suntan lotion, to take the lust, desire, and drive and lust, and taking that from just lust to love. And that takes constant work. Because everyone here can get married. It's so easy. It's easy to get married. I could have hundreds of people lined out the door to marry every single one of you here tonight. But that's not what the purpose of my class is about. I want you to get to never leaving. What is never leaving? I was on the second date with my wife. I was 34 years old. Like I said, I dated a lot. I have a lot of wisdom from all my dates I went out with. And we were somewhere, and I said to her, I'm never leaving. Now, I was too immature to say I love you or say let's get married, because on the second date I was scared out of her mind. But I said to my wife, I was dating her, my second date, I said, I'm never leaving. And you know what she says to me now? You still haven't left. And that's where I want all of you to be today, to get to never leaving. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching the Fishing Coach Show.
If you like what you just watched, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment with any ideas you'd like to see on any future episodes.
We'll see you next time.